Today we're going to write our first Arduino sketch. A sketch is a small program that you upload to your Arduino. Now, like I said in the last video, an Arduino is basically a brain. If you're going to make a robot, you need to start with the brain. The brain contains all the instructions that you want your robot to follow. Things like if it sees, a lot of programs are written in if-then type of logic. So if my robot sees red, then move this arm, something like that. Your Arduino is perfectly capable of that kind of logic and that type of action. So let's get started. First, in order to program your basic Arduino, this is the Arduino Uno, tried and true platform. It's a really great product. I've been using these for years, and they're really solid, really easy to program, very reliable, very durable. So we're going to start with one of these. In order to write your code, you're going to upload your Arduino code using the USB cable. So Arduinos have a USB port on them, and you're going to plug in your Arduino to the USB cable to upload your code. By the way, USB, Universal Serial Bus. The important part of that is serial. So that's actually the first thing we're going to program on our Arduino today, is to take advantage of serial communication between our computer and the Arduino. So serial means only one at a time, as opposed to parallel, where lots of things can be happening simultaneously. We're going to use the serial bus, the USB, on our Arduino to send, initially when we write the code, data will go from our computer across to the Arduino in one direction. But later we're going to ask the Arduino to send information back across the USB cable to our computer. So let's begin. In order to do that, I'm going to open up my Arduino IDE. IDE is an integrated development environment. It's just a place to write code. The guys that made Arduino have made a nice IDE. It's very stripped down, very simple to use, very clean. So we're going to start there. If I look at my Arduino IDE, I see that I've got a setup function and a loop function. What happens when you upload your Arduino code to the Arduino board, the Arduino is going to, right off the bat, look for the setup function and run anything in the setup, and it's going to run that one time. So any kind of initialization or any kind of naming you want to put in the setup. Then later, after the setup, the Arduino will enter the loop, and the loop will run indefinitely as fast as it can over and over. So that's a good way to write code, is to do some initial things in the setup, and once you enter the loop can be doing things over and over and over. And with a 16 megahertz chip, that's 16 million times a second, you can do a lot in every one of those loops. So the Arduino can be checking the voltage of pins to see if a button has been pushed, or to see if it sees a different color, or checking for acceleration, all kinds of things that your Arduino brain can do. So let's start. The first thing I'm going to do in my code is I'm going to say serial begin. And what that does, it initializes serial communication between the Arduino and your computer. 9600 is the baud rate. That's just the rate at which data will flow back and forth across the USB cable, and 9600 is a commonly used baud rate. So I said serial begin. Now I have a serial communication initialized between my Arduino and my computer. Now in my loop, the loop's going to run over and over and over. I'm going to say serial. I'm going to use that connection I just made, and I'm going to print. Now if I say print, that's going to print some text back to my computer. I like print ln, short for print line, and that's going to print each thing I send it on its own line. And I can say hello. And that is one complete program right there. That's one complete Arduino sketch. A couple things about the syntax I'll mention right here off the bat. You'll notice that if I look at my function, I've got the keyword void, which simply means the function doesn't return anything. Some functions can spit out text or some kind of data out of the function. If my function is not designed to return something, we'll talk about function returns later, then I just write void in this particular language, which is it's a version of the C programming language. Then setup is the name of the function, and then two empty parentheses. Parentheses in a function definition are just if you're going to send data to the function rather than return. If you're going to send data to the function, that's what goes in those parentheses. That's called an argument. And then everything between these curly brackets is the function. So you see one curly bracket there and one curly bracket there. Everything between those curly brackets is the function. I only have one line in my curly brackets, and that is serial.begin. And I end all commands with a semicolon. The void loop function is very similar. Void because it doesn't return anything. Loop is the name of the function. Empty parentheses because it doesn't receive anything. And then I've got curly brackets that enclose everything in my loop function. And then there's one command, serial.println. And it says hello, and there's a semicolon at the end. Hello is in quotes because it is a string, and that is a data type that just means text. Now, like I said earlier, that loop function can run millions of times a second. In this case, it won't run quite as fast because the serial communication takes a couple milliseconds. But this program, the way I've written it, will write the word hello to the serial monitor across the serial cable thousands of times a second. That's too fast. I would not like that. So I'm going to put in a delay. I'm going to write the word delay. That is a function that Arduino knows, and just like all functions, there's parentheses if I want, and those parentheses are empty if I'm not going to send any data. In this case, I do send something to the delay function, and that's the number of milliseconds or thousandths of a second that I would like it to delay. In this case, I would like it to delay half a second, so that's 500 milliseconds. So let's take a look at what this program does. I'm going to hit the upload button, which is this little right pointing arrow, and down below I should see some kind of indication that my upload is actually happening. Looks like it's asking for me to save it. Okay, of course. I'm just going to save it as the default right now. That's not a good convention. Later we should come up with good names. But it says saving, and it's thinking about it. It's taking longer, so it cannot. Something to note about the Arduino IDE, and this is good programming practice, is you should put all your programs in their own folder, and I think that's what that arrow was just telling me. It was something I was writing earlier. Okay, so it says compiling sketch, and there was a problem uploading to the board. Let's take a look. Let's check my serial port, make sure. I may have not selected my serial port, COM42. So when I'm in the Arduino IDE, that's important that I've checked my COM port, communications port, and right now I have one thing plugged into my computer, so this is the only available device on a COM port, and you can see it's right there, COM42, and it says Arduino Uno, that's this. So if I select my COM port and try to upload again, hopefully it will work. So it's important that I've specified which COM port I'm using. It says compiling sketch, uploading, and done uploading. Great. So right now, the program has uploaded to this chip, and as I said earlier, as soon as you hit upload, it will start running the program. The first thing it's going to do is say serial begin. That's in the setup, and then it's going to enter the loop, and it's going to do that over and over and over as long as this is plugged in. Now, in order to see that that's working, I'm going to say tools, serial monitor, or Control-Shift-M, or also this magnifying glass right here opens my serial monitor. I'm going to click that, and I should see my serial monitor. Serial monitor means it's monitoring what's happening on the serial connection. So I have a serial connection. The Arduino is sending text across the serial connection, and up on my screen I am monitoring that with my serial monitor. And you can see that every half a second it prints the word hello. So that's our first program. The reason I wanted to start with that's not really a robot yet, but I want us to get familiar with some of the basics, including how to program an Arduino, the basics of the Arduino programming language, how to send data across to here, in other words, how to upload your program, and then also a very important note that the Arduino and most other types of brains we'll be using can send information back to the computer, in this case across the serial connection. Also, the reason I want to start with a serial monitor is it is one of the most important tools we have for debugging. As soon as we get more into programming, we're going to run into problems. It's not going to behave the way we want. And one of the easiest ways to figure out what's going on with our program is to send messages to ourselves, debug messages to the serial monitor. So if I'm confused about what's going on, often I will enter in some kind of serial print line functions to see what the heck is going on. It's a really big help. Trust me there. Okay, in our next video, we're actually going to start wiring some stuff up and seeing what a powerful brain this Arduino can be. Stay tuned.